Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you are. I'm Marky Dragon, also known as Marcus Eikenberry in real life, and I am very happy today to present to you the game Neosland. It's a first of its kind, that it is the first one that we know of that is a crowd-designed MMO. And I think that's a big deal because it's you who are designing the game with the help of Jacques here. Hello, Jacques. Can you hear me, Jacques? Oh, my mic is muted. There we go. Hello, Jacques.
Can you hear me?
Yes. We got a little bit of an echo. Can you turn down your speakers or put on a headset?
Yeah, I put on a headset. I don't know how to look weird.
That's okay. So we are live.
Give me 1 sec.
While he's getting his headset, the game is really made. They have built this engine, NeoJack has, and wants to really showcase it. And so we are using this game to kick it off. Gosh, it's so hard to think when I'm hearing myself. It's a game that we're designing, that we've been taking different articles, different items, and doing these roundtable sessions where we are taking on the task of things like PvP, housing, land ownership, how will skills work in the game? How does death work in the game? You know, how many characters do you have in the game? All of these have been identified with the help of all of the viewers watching the shows, and we have come up with many suggestions that have been put in place by Jacques here and his team of developers. So, Jacques, how are things working out for you? He can't hear me. Oh my. Well, this is how these live shows go sometimes. So, okay.
Got to go in and fix the settings.
Hey, Evil.
Yes.
Welcome to the show.
Hi there.
Now, Evil, you have been one of the people that has been with us from the start, and you're not a video game developer. You're actually one of the viewers. And how would you talk about your experience on your input into the game and how it's caused the development of the game, the progression of the game?
Well, I think as a viewer, the first big experience I had was that when we had the first roundtable, I think first 1 or 2 roundtables, and then you went on vacation, and when we came back, we had like video evidence of what we had talked about in what we wanted in the game, and there was like right there in front of us a video of what they could do. Mm-hmm. That was, I think, the most amazing experience because I didn't know that you could develop video games this quickly.
Well, the key is that they already built the engine.
Yeah, well, I mean, but having an engine that's adjustable that much that you can like add stuff to the game on the fly like that was astounding to me. As a viewer, I had no concept of video game development. I always heard it took like 2 years to get something serious going, and you know, when they like in 2 weeks had turned that around like that, I was really, really impressed.
So was I actually, because that's not the normal thing. But they busted that out to really show us that was possible, and so we and that's how the game is going to continue to be developed. We have, for the Kickstarter campaign here, an amazing amount of stuff that's been asked for by the players that we'll be presenting over this campaign over the next 30 days. Jacques, are you able to hear us now? There we go. Woohoo! All right. So, I see you knocked your picture sideways in your office, probably in that frantic...
rushing around, yeah.
The other one, other side. The other one, the third other one.
No, there's no fitting ones.
Jacques, what we just talked about, I talked about with Evil, about the fact that we that this game has been really designed by the players. And I asked him his experience about that, and he said one of the most amazing things for him was when we asked about housing, and then the housing. A couple weeks later, we had a video of showing how the housing could work. He was blown away, and so. Would you say that this is kind of how the whole development of the game is going to continue to go? We keep asking, you guys keep producing?
Yeah, that's pretty much what we are aiming for, right? We set up with our engine the capabilities of rapidly implementing any type of system that somebody wants, right? So it's built that way that we can do that quickly and proficiently, you know. So yeah, I pretty much see exactly this is how we're going to be doing it. That's why we brought out the housing system, to show the progress, right? It's not just you guys saying something and then we're waiting and waiting and you never see a result in it. So we wanted to have a flowing of systems where if you say something and that's what you guys want, then we put it in and we actually show you, and then from there we fine-tune it from there.
Now, we've asked for a lot of stuff. What happens when we ask for something stupid?
Well, first we want to see if it's going to work, you know. You never know. We might think it's stupid, but somebody else doesn't, you know. So, you know, it's all about testing and seeing if we can get it in, you know, and then after it's in, you know, getting feedback from you guys, the developers, I mean, the community, right, and seeing if that's what you want or we change it again.
Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about what your vision is of the game. Where are we at launch? Where do you envision we'll be at launch?
Well, at launch, it's obviously going to be hectic like hell, but other than that, you know, I think we're going to try and get as much as possible systems in place that when we launch, you know, that everybody is pretty much happy to start off with, and then from there we will just keep working on getting it more fine-tuned and so on, until we get to a point where we can actually more or less hand it over the world development and so on to you guys, you know, and see you can make whatever you want to make from it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So explain to the viewers what the game is currently.
Well, currently it's a fully fledged MMO sandbox game. So what we're trying to do is bring as much sandbox capabilities into it, and it's been developed, you know, with certain things that the community wants. And like I say, you know, it's all depends on what the community wants. So it's very hard to specifically say what it is, right? Because it's evolving so quickly. We're not certain ourselves what it's going to end up being looking like at the end.
That's one of the beautiful things and scary things about this game.
Yeah.
So, but you know what it's boiled down to is we keep asking for things, and I don't think we've been asking for anything that doesn't make sense. That, you know, we've had some suggestions, usually my own, that kind of break the fantasy of the game, and so, you know, so it's medieval fantasy, MMO, sandbox. And we've been asking for some really incredible abilities in the game. And do you want to tell us about a few of those abilities that they're really not being seen in other games like this?
Well, the one thing I think that I really liked was the fact that how we were looking at doing our skills and stuff, and, you know, upgrading from them and so on, and using a book system. Like you guys originally came out with saying, well, how about using books? And now we've taken that book system into so many different levels where you can actually create. We are planning to have it so you can create quests and put them in books, you know, and you can trade them. And the capabilities of this is so enormous, you know. And I was pretty much blown away that, you know, with the ideas that comes out. I mean, that's just one example I can think of right now, right? Mm-hmm. There's so many other ones that we've looked at also, you know, like the one that was suggested where we make it more viable for live streamers and so on, where we have switching between characters, right? And then the characters can move around in the game, and for instance, you could be, like you said, a spider, you know, and you can go on the wall and you can view a certain area where there's a dragon, maybe and see if people come in and fight the dragon, you know, and you can mm-hmm. live stream that. So all these things are things that I think is pretty unique, you know, in the industry. And I think a lot of developers hasn't thought of that yet, because I mean it takes a lot of people to. The more people there is that's involved with something, or brainstorming something, the better ideas that comes out from it.
I think we've come up with some really incredible stuff. Now, let me ask you: I have forbidden you and your development team from being at the roundtables, other than just a viewer. And what did you think when I first told you that we're going to do a roundtable for Neos Land, but you're not invited?
Well, it's this interesting concept, right? Like you said, also, like the biggest thing is to make sure that we don't be involved into shaping the people's ideas to what we want it to be, right? Mm-hmm. Like we know the limitations of the engine and so on, but it comes down to the fact that if you don't know what's the limitations on things, then your mind can actually literally be free, right? You can come up with these very unique stuff, because you don't think if it can work or not. All you care about is what you want to have in it, right? So
that's right. So that is the exact thing, and my science behind saying no, you guys can't come, is that I didn't want you guys to taint your expectations of what you can do with what we want you to do. So, and I think that would you say it's caused you guys to reach higher than what you envisioned?
Yes, I'll definitely say that, right? We can definitely see us moving away from the standard of how things are being made, right? Just off the bat from that, right? Like I say, like the ideas that's coming out every time we listen to one, it's just unbelievable, what comes out there, and I'm blown away with the ideas and thinking, well, why has nobody done this before, right? Like, can't believe it. And it's just because, I think everybody that plays a game or something like that, or the developers, they get the, like, they just think one way, and they don't think of the other possibilities, and they don't know if it's going to work or not, so they stick with the things that work, and they don't take
playing it safe.
Especially with how our system works and everything that we have in our company, we've designed it that way that we don't need to play it that safe. We can go all the way in and see what it comes from, right?
Yeah. Well, I have very, very high hopes for this game because of how it's working out, and I happen to know I've seen some of the other background stuff that has not been presented to the public yet, and there are things that we've asked for, and it looks amazing. So, okay, so why a goal on the Kickstarter of only $100,000? Doesn't it cost more to make a game like this?
Yeah, like at the end of the day, like we said, we've been developing the Atavism online engine for quite a while now, and so it's pretty much already paid for. The biggest thing with companies that create MMO games, especially if they do it from scratch, is that they first have to build the engine. The engine is worth quite a lot of money actually itself, so it takes a lot of time to do it. So we've already done all that work, and basically the Kickstarter is just to pay for the little plugins and so on that the players are looking for, right? And just to make sure that we can polish it off a little bit more and make the game look much nicer for everybody and get it out sooner. But we don't need that much money, because like we're a small indie company, we already done all the heavy lifting of the engine and everything. So that's why we ended up with that amount.
Now you say you're a small company, but at the same time, I happen to know some stuff about the engine. That what are limitations? Do we have to have 1,000-player servers, or are we all one world, or?
Well, we're aiming at all one world. So our engine works on a quadri system, so we hand off different sections of the world as you progress in it. So we're planning to have one server, not a breakup in servers and stuff like that, and we can pretty much so far it looks like we can. There's always a limit to something, but the amount of people, we haven't tested it, but it's pretty big actually.
Yeah, so it's cloud-based servers too, right? So you can scale up and down as needed.
Yeah. There's different systems you can use, and that's definitely, if people want to go that way, that's the way they can go. No problem.
Unlike other games that when they use physical hardware, they have to buy all these machines. And I know several examples of games that have launched that had $1 million, $2 million, $2.5 million worth of servers, and then the game did not do nearly as well as they expected, and they lost their shirts on hardware. And so this, we're paying for what we use, which keeps the costs down, which should translate into more money for development or better bang for the buck for the players.
Yeah, exactly. Most of the company, we set it up in a way that we're trying to, if we bring out a game, that to keep the cost as low as down as possible. That's why we're even going to be selling the engine on the Unity Asset Store as well. Mm-hmm. So that that people say, even some of the assets that gets made by the game will be sold there too. And people say, well, why would you do that? But I see it in a way that it's a way to save money for the community at the end of the day, right? So, and to keep the doors open, right? So everything costs money, and doing it that way, we actually, instead of relying on a community to make sure that the doors stay open, we're actually getting other forms of income as well, which will secure the game for a long time.
So what? With that said, so there's a lot of games out there being made with Unity right now. And Unity is one of the things that allows for multiple platforms. So, this is a Windows game, it's a PC game, it's Mac, it's Linux, and then also has some sort of support for like iOS and Android, correct?
Yeah, that's correct, yeah.
Okay, and so, with this flood of Unity games, I just want to point out the one difference in this is that the Unity games that are being made, they're either having to make their own engines or they are having to use what Unity provides, which gives them a much smaller base. So it's not necessarily massive multiplayer at that point.
Yeah, there's a few systems on Unity Asset Store, right, that people can use. There's not many, but for multiplayer and also to develop MMO games. But at the end of the day, it's very hard for people to get into it because of you have to be a programmer or have a programmer on your team, and for indie developers, it's extremely hard to get into that, right, if they don't have a big team. And because we're indie developers ourselves, that's why one of the decisions why we decided to open up the engine as well for the Unity asset people, developers, so that, and we're making it extremely user-friendly. So you can pretty much launch an MMO game with our MMO construction kit, Activism Online engine, without having to know really any programming. Like, we made it extremely easy with interfaces and stuff like that, and opening up the capabilities for pretty much a lot of indie developers on Unity now to develop their own MMO games without a problem, and get into that market.
So we've talked about allowing players to design things within the game. And so I think what you're talking about here is that, there's two things. One, I can dream up something, I can suggest it. If you guys think it's good, you get it put into the game. But then beyond that, if I were to have the Unity client or whatever, can I design that item and then hand you that item to put into the game?
Yeah, we are working with Unity to actually do crowdsourcing with assets as well. So, we wanted to make the game as, like you said, customizable by players and developers and so on in the community, as much as possible. And it's one thing to just give us an idea, but, there's some very talented community members out there also, so if we give them the capabilities to design assets and put it on, on the Unity Asset Store and then into our game as well if they want to, right? That opens up the door more for the game to be developed faster and frees up some more time for us to develop the tool set, right? To make it possible for the developers, like giving them the tools to be able to do pretty much anything in the world, right?
So currently, from some of the demo videos and everything, I think that a lot of what we're seeing in there is stuff that's like stock Unity images. And how is it going to look at launch compared to the few videos that people are seeing right now?
Well, it's obviously it's going to be a big difference, I would say, in the sense of we're going to be polishing everything more. What you'll be seeing in the video was just like a tech demo, right? Just showing that the technology is there, how it works, and so on. But we'll be polishing and adding more stuff in of our own, and definitely developing it much further. So I would say you're going to see a big difference maybe at the end of the day when it comes to launch.
I know I've seen some of the custom artwork that you guys have started putting in, and it's very unique. It's not the
Yeah.
same thing. And I just wanted to really address concerns of people that make an assumption or their impression when they see something. And right now, it's not even called alpha yet. I'm sure.
Yeah, no.
You know, it's still way in development, and so you know, when you look at it and you see this and you say, well, I recognize some of these houses or the landscape or whatnot, that is all going to be custom for the game. That's
Yeah.
correct at launch?
Yeah, most of it will be custom, right? And also, like I say, what we will be using, like maybe some of the terrain assets, stuff that's generic, right? That doesn't matter really, you know. But once again, you know, as we go further, you know, we start adding in assets from the community and so on. You know, you're gonna see a lot of stuff there that you will see on the asset store as well. And you know, depending if other guys buy the kit and stuff like that, they might also add it into their games, you know. But we're definitely going to be doing a lot of customized stuff of our own, you know. And like you said, the artwork and stuff that we're putting through, you know, there's a lot of things that we're changing at the moment.
Yeah.
Like it all goes around also the community, right? So you know, depending on we haven't done roundtables yet on the look and the feel of the game. Like there's a few things that we still have to get from the community before we can finalize all the art styles and stuff like that as well, right?
Yeah. So, okay. So there's a lot of work yet to be done, but we have all the basics in here right now. So, okay. Well, Jacques, I think this will end our first episode here, and then in the next one we'll get into some questions that are coming in. And so those of you watching live, don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a few minutes, and so see you two in a few minutes. Be right back.